Game starts with someone heading forwards in a weird alien lookalike facility, and we hear a piece of radio messages from Dr. Helena Rosendahl of IAS research team stating that North Koreans have attacked the island, and then she says they found something buried in the rock that can change the future of the planet. Next thing, we see a plane flying over the Livingston Islands. It's August 14th, 2020. Nomad and Prophet brief the rest of the team about the operation of what seemed to be a special force unit. They are here to evacuate Dr. Rosendahl, though during the freefall they speculate there's probably more than that. Suddenly Nomad is hit by something and he loses his suit. Fortunately, he falls into a water and his suit absorbs the impact. Turns out the team members are equipped with special nano suits that increase their abilities. Nomad receives an order to find Jester and head to Aztec's location. Turns out the team landed all over the place and Aztec is hanging on a tree as he also got hit by something when he was in the air. Soon he reports that he spotted an enemy patrol and we only hear sounds of battle over the rocks and Aztec screams for help through the radio. Nomad and Jester try to reach him, and on their way they find a Korean soldier dead bodies and Aztec who was butchered by something. Prophet remotely vaporizes Aztec as he doesn't want Koreans to get their hands on this technology. The suit make you run faster, jump higher, become invisible, etc, etc. But there is a catch and it's a limited amount of time until the battery goes low and the suit needs to recharge. Turns out there is a frozen ship wreckage lying next to the landing zone where Nomad meets the others. Psycho finds a map and Prophet decides to go to the place that was marked on it. But Psycho and Jester want some answers about what is really going on here. They're into an argument with Prophet, but it's interrupted by an attack of this alien-looking thing. It grabs Jester and leaves. Rest tries to go after the mysterious predator and soon they find Jester's body. Prophet swears that he doesn't know anything besides the intel they already got. They find a Korean post that was also butchered and overhear a radio message talking about a hostage being kept in a nearby village. Nomad is sent there to find the hostage. Hostage is a woman archaeologist claiming that something turned into pieces. One of her colleagues. She also informs that the rest is in the east of the helibase above the falls. She says that Rosendahl was excavating a statue in the jungle, but it turned out to be a transmitter that led them to the structure in the mountain, and Rosendahl thinks it's evidence of a dead civilization. This conversation is interrupted by a Korean armed division, so Nomad takes care of the tanks while Psycho evacuates the hostage. After dealing with the tanks, Nomad meets Prophet near the river. They take a road to the excavation site through the caves, but again they are attacked by Alien and it grabs Prophet. Major Strickland informs Nomad through the radio that they lost contact with Prophet. Nomad informs that Prophet is actually missing in action and he refuses on being extracted, deciding he can complete the mission alone. He battles through the jungle and reaches a North Korean compound. He clears it and sends a valuable intel to the headquarters that will help them to plan an assault on the island. He also gets the location of the excavation site. Soon he finds a research dome and reaches Rosendahl. Turns out he is on a video call with General Kyong. What Rosendahl found here is a carbon-based machine that predates humanity by 2 million years. Kyong insists on focusing on the temple they also discovered and Rosendahl warns him he shouldn't be opening it. Rosendahl's daughter Helena shows up on the screen and Doctor orders her to get out of there and stop the general because the fossils they found are still alive according to his readings. Nomad approaches Rosendahl and he tells him that Kyong has his daughter in the mountains and asks for help. So that explains why he is working for Kyong. The fossils activity disturbs the whole base and it produces a blinding light that freezes everything. Rosendahl gets frozen and Nomad informs the headquarters he is going to the relic they found in the mountains. Soon he reaches a landing zone where he is supposed to meet a VTOL, but when he tries to clear the place for landing he learns that Koreans are also equipped with nanosuits, though he points out they are less effective than the US ones. Nomad manages to clear the landing zone and gets picked up. He meets Psycho on the VTOL. They are about to be a part of a full-scale assault. Team is dropped along with the Marines. They take down the enemy AAs and mark the Korean cruiser for Air Force. Then, Nomad is ordered to drive a tank through the tunnel into the valley. That way he gets into the mining complex, and according to the intel he got, the hostages are held inside the mine. Kyung is probably also there. Nomad manages to break inside and soon he reaches Helena and Kyung, but an enemy soldier sneaks up on him and knocks him down. He wakes up overhearing Helena telling Kyung that something is transmitting signals into that structure, but he doesn't want to listen. Then the general spots Nomad and tells him that his nano suit has been disabled. Helena is concerned about the electromagnetic activity inside the temple, but Kyung is all about how great source of power he discovered, and he kills a guy who tries to explain him that it might be dangerous. And he also has a nanosuit, by the way. So Kyung blows up the chargers, and again, the room is filled with blinding lights. Nomad's suit gets activated and he is thrown away by the power of that light. Fight breaks out between him and Kyung, and Nomad kills him and then evacuates Helena. Nomad informs Helena that her father is dead and the cave starts collapsing. VTOL manages to fly down, but they only manage to grab Helena while Nomad must search for an alternative way. And while on that, he explores a mystical cave that looks like it is filled with advanced technology. And Nomad can see that the structure of this cave is not regular. He describes it as an almost organic. Soon, Nomad starts to drift as gravity seems to not be working here, and he gets approached by a mysterious creature, but it doesn't attack him and just moves away. Then he reaches a large chamber and there are more creatures that get more hostile about his presence and he's actually getting attacked. So he moves quickly, and in the other chamber he spots something that looks like a DNA stream that connects everything here. Finally, he reaches an entrance to a weird black tunnel that has pushed him to the main chamber, where he spots that those creatures have an army of machines there. He gets spotted and attacked by a group of aliens and barely makes it out alive, but he finds an exit of this facility and gets back the radio signal. While he's about to get picked up by a VTOL, the machines attack and crush it. After that, everything gets covered in ice and snow. Nomad is on his own, but he gets coordinates to the evac point. He runs through the mountains, trying to avoid those machines. On his way, he found some Marines, and they are not in their top shape. He informs Strickland about them, and he says he lost 2 platoons up here. And their conversation is interrupted by the attack of the machines, but Prophet pops out of nowhere and saves Nomad. Turns out, not only he is alive, but also he managed to get his hands on one of those alien guns that is highly effective on them. Temperature is so low, only their suits keep them alive, but Prophet's suit is damaged, and he says it might not hold down for too long. So they move fast, racing with time and aliens who try to kill them. They manage to get across the bridge and reach a safe place. Strickland tells them to make their way down to the valley as it is too risky to pick them up from where they were. But luckily they found the vehicles they can use to get there faster. On their way they spot a VTOL being shut down. Turns out Helena was on it and she's the only one that survived the crash. Strickland tells Nomad to go and help her, so they drive to the crash site and reach Helena, who is trapped inside the wreckage. Nomad holds on the aliens while Prophet opens the wreckage and rescues Rosendahl. Strickland sends them a VTOL. Helena and Prophet get on it, but Nomad stays and says that he will lay down suppressing fire so they can safely take off. He reaches the evac point on his feet and turns out there's a huge battle going on there. Nomad uses the alien gun that Prophet has given him earlier and holds the aliens while others get evacuated until Strickland personally orders him to get on a VTOL and tells that he will deal with that huge-ass alien that glows like it was a Griswold's house in Christmas Vacation movie. And while the overloaded VTOL flies away, Nomad watches how Strickland actually sacrificed himself for the rest. During the flight, pilot gets hit and the VTOL gets attacked by aliens, and though Marines manage to handle the enemy without being shot down, Nomad must take the steers from this point. Since the engine is damaged, he must maintain a low altitude while flying through the valley. And while he tries to deal with that, Psycho reports informing that Prophet and Helena reached the coast safely. Finally, Nomad makes it to that US cruiser, and Helena is happy to see him. She shows him that Psycho managed to bring in a part of that alien machine. It looks dead, but all of a sudden it awakens and makes a little mess, but it lasts only a few seconds. Helena tells Nomad that those things can absorb energy from nearby power forces. Then Nomad goes to see the Admiral. He is impressed by Nomad's job and reveals that video feed from his suit convinced the government to use nuclear missiles on the island. Helena says that might not be the best idea because we don't know anything about those things, but Admiral tells her that the decision has already been made by the president. He also explains that about a week ago they detected abnormal heat signatures from that island. At first they suspected that Koreans were testing nukes, but 4 days ago NASA picked up a high-frequency signal emanating from the mountain, and the beacon is directed at the star somewhere in the galaxy M33, almost 4 million light-years away from Earth. Helena points out that this thing inside the island is probably biological and it feeds on power, and it's a risk to drop a nuke on it. But Admiral still doesn't want to listen. Later Nomad meets Prophet and Helena in the armor laboratory. While Helena wants to run some tests on Nomad's suit, Prophet grabs a gun and leaves, explaining that he knows this nuke won't even scratch the surface. Meanwhile, Helena has an idea to program Nomad's suit into an effective weapon against aliens, basing on a theory she has, as she identifies a signal pattern used by one of those creatures when they recharge. Meanwhile, Prophet steals a VTOL and flies back on the island, but that doesn't stop Admiral from dropping a nuke on it. And it rather worked as a high-protein meal for this freezing sphere that was hanging over the island, as it got a few times bigger. And aliens went crazy and attacked the US ship immediately. Nomad gets knocked down for a second, but as soon as he gets up, Admiral sends him to fight with aliens. He helps defending the deck and helps engineers trapped at the lower decks. He also tries to stop the reactor from overheating due to the fire on board, but it turns out the cooling rats are jumped and aliens shows up and start to drawing the power from the reactor. Helena connects and she sees a perfect chance to test if her idea of overloading aliens with Nomad's nanosuit works, and it works like a charm. Nomad manually lowers the cooling rats, and that saves the reactor from exploding. Then he takes a prototype weapon gun they have on this ship and heads on the deck to help Helena, who is surrounded by aliens. Well, at this point, the whole place is overtaken by those creatures. Though the Admiral wants everyone to stay and fight, he soon gets killed, so everyone just decides to abandon ship as quickly as possible. Nomad uses the prototype weapon to fight the huge-ass machine that crawls over the deck, with Helena remotely sending signals through his suit to weaken the damn thing. After a tough battle, Nomad manages to put it down. But then, the alien ship shows up, a huge one, and Nomad tells everyone to evacuate with a VTOL while he will stay and try to take the ship down. But Helena and Psycho decide to stick around and try to help Nomad, who fights the ship with a rocket launcher, but it doesn't work well as it has a shield. So again, with the help of Helena, they manage to take down those shields and destroy the ship, so finally they can fly away safely. And the explosion of the ship is so huge that it actually creates a small ice sphere, and its power starts to suck down their VTOL, and Helena almost falls down, but Nomad grabs her in the last second, and sinking cruiser weakens the power of that energy source. Helena says that the US fleet is already on their way here, but Nomad tells everyone that since they found a way to fight with those aliens, they need to stay and fight. And Psycho picks up transmission from Prophet, who seems to be inside the sphere on the island. Nomad tells Psycho to lock on his position and get back on that island immediately to help Prophet. Game starts with a scene of the US Air Force destroying a North Korean battleship on the coast of Lakes and Islands. Then we see Psycho observing that from a distance, because actually Crysis Warhead is a spin-off side story of the first Crysis game, where we take Psycho's perspective of those events. Psycho goes through the jungle and jumps into one of bypassing trucks while Nomad is after General Kyung. Psycho helps his convoy deal with the ambush, well, at least until one of the trucks is blown up by RPG, and they have to hold on and wait for Vitol. Tough luck, Vitol also gets shot down, but thanks to his suit, Psycho makes it out alive. With the help of the Raptor team, he escapes to the jungle, but soon is knocked down by a strong underground explosion. Then Commander Emerson connects through the radio and he spots a helicopter carrying a metal container. He gets instructions to link up with Sierra team to point targets for airstrikes. On his way, he gets valuable intel on Colonel Lee, who runs the Korean operation, recently requesting a special delivery from their nuclear base. Turns out the cargo he saw earlier might be a Korean nuclear warhead. Psycho single-handedly takes down a Korean post near the beach. Then we see one of the Sierra team airfighters shot down and Emerson sends some footage of the Korean nuclear container. Psycho reaches the crash zone and rescues the pilot. Then he tracks down the container and spots a very old nuclear sub approaching the coast. He catches one of the Koreans off guard and steals his vehicles. Now Psycho and O'Neill, the pilot, fight their way down the road, but while they reach the extraction point, Psycho is ordered to go after the container as Koreans are trying to put it on a submarine. Psycho reaches the docks and manages to break in, but turns out he can't find the container, so he assumes it must have already been loaded on sub. He sneaks inside the sub, but at the same time it closes and starts moving. But as he examines the cargo, it turns out it's not a missile, but a piece of an alien structure. Psycho wakes up and gets knocked down by its force. He wakes up again, this time in captivity, and Colonel Lee shows up and he clearly knows how to torture people. But luckily for Psycho, he gets more important stuff to do right now. Alien thing freezes to death everyone who doesn't wear a nanosuit, and blinded Psycho loses his conscience again. When he wakes up, Koreans try to transport the container, so Psycho steals a hovercraft and goes after them. But soon he receives a call from Dane, from the Eagle team, that requests his help. As Psycho moves into their direction, he is attacked by alien machines. He meets the other nanosuit soldiers from Eagle team, and together they fight their way through the frozen jungle until they reach a tunnel. There a giant alien machine shows up, but Psycho and others manage to deal with it. They enter the tunnel and search for Colonel Lee. Soon they reach a frozen US battleship that was taken over by Lee and his men. Emerson tells Psycho that Lee is probably on the far side of the carrier. KPR soldiers that Psycho is dealing with right here are all wearing nanosuits. Soon Psycho spots Lee and tries to get him. While on that, he briefly connects with Prophet, who says he will die soon unless he gets out of ice. Psycho also gets distracted by alien machines and loses track of Lee. Now he must take a road through the caves that lead to the mining complex. The path is filled with enemies, but there is no other way. Psycho finds the mining complex and meet with Eagle team. They battle with aliens to defend their position, and after they manage to clear the entrance, Psycho enters the abandoned Pacific Shores mine. Emerson confirms that what he saw in the Ceph was the same thing that Noman encountered inside their habitat. Those creatures are believed to be piloting various forms of weaponized exosuits. Psycho goes through the mines, being guided by Emerson, and finds an elevator to the trash shipment facility. Emerson informs that the container is loaded into an automated freight train. Psycho reaches the terminal and locates the train, but it's already leaving, so he quickly jumps on it. Then we jump back to Fort Lancaster, 4 years earlier. A voice of an officer reports that O'Neill has failed the field tests, and due to his subordination, he can't be part of any special unit. Back in the train, Psycho must capture the container before it is delivered to Colonel Lee. He moves forwards to the head of the train, being attacked by enemies, but O'Neill shows up and covers him from a VTOL. Emerson tries to order him to stay out of Psycho's mission as he is not part of it, but he sticks along anyway and tries to help. And Psycho convinces Emerson to let O'Neill stay. Train reaches the bridge and Psycho places some explosive on it, but O'Neill doesn't respond on the radio. Soon Colonel Lee shows up with a helicopter and tries to get the container back. He has a hostage, and his men throw him away from the helicopter, so Psycho jumps to catch him, but while on that, he loses the igniter. and Psycho ends up hanging on just one hand. While Lee is taking the container, Marine tells him to let him go in order to stop the Koreans. Psycho lets him go and grabs the device. He manages to blow up the bridge, but the helicopter was already in the air, so it's hard to say did the explosion manage to reach it. Back on the ground, Psycho tries to help the Marine, but he is already dead. He spots a Korean soldier and drowns him in the water in an act of rage. Container is gone, but Emerson tells Psycho he still has a chance to get it. He runs through the jungle and Emerson informs him that all the other troops are being evacuated and he probably is the last one remaining on the island. Meanwhile, Psycho finds and secures the container in the airbase. Emerson tries to send a VTOL but has trouble with connecting with anyone. Psycho climbs up to the control tower and uses the radio there. He manages to connect the pilot, but he's negative on picking the cargo since everyone is ordered to return to base as soon as possible. This alien sphere gets bigger and an assault on the island begins. All of a sudden O'Neill connects and Emerson says though O'Neill was ordered to evac, he took a risk to save Psycho and the container. O'Neill tells Psycho to go and use the plasma weapons on the crashed C-18 and defend the container from aliens. Turns out the weapon works like a charm and Psycho manages to defeat the biggest alien. O'Neill lands with a VTOL and they try to secure the cargo when Psycho spots something and turns invisible. Turns out it's Colonel Lee, who sneaks on O'Neill and steals the VTOL, but Psycho surprises him and gives O'Neill a chance to take off. But then Lee uses that electroshock device we saw earlier. It paralyzes Psycho and he uses his suit to jump on board. Psycho pulls himself together and manages to stop him before he reaches the cockpit. Then he beats him in a good old-fashioned fist fight and lets him taste his own medicine before throwing him off the VTOL. While they fly away, we see Lee being approached by an alien ship, but we don't know whether it killed him or took him in. Last VTOL on the island leaves and we get a short flashback recording from 4 years ago where tired Nomad asks Psycho if he disarmed the Warhead, and Psycho laughs, saying that for Nomad, the mission is always in the first place. Crysis 6-issue comic series intended to bridge a gap between the storylines of Crysis and Crysis 2. The story focuses on the adventures of Prophet, Nomad, Psycho and Helena Rosendahl. It also reveals much of Prophet's backstory. While waiting to be secured, Prophet fights off a wave after wave of Cephs. Actually, the Ceph are equipped with exoskeletons similar to those in Crysis 2. The ice sphere also seems to have disappeared. It is revealed that Prophet was on the verge of being dishonorably discharged and sent to Leavenworth before testing the nanosuit. Because of his temper, he often showed disobedience and clearly had an anger management problems. But he was given opportunity to be a part of the nanosuit project. He also becomes quite fond of his nanosuit, comparing it to a second skin. Unfortunately, the VTOL, his evacuation, gets shut down as it approaches. As the survivors leave the downed VTOL, it is destroyed by a giant bipedal Ceph. Everyone is knocked down and Nomad is severely wounded in the process. Prophet comes to the rescue and defeats the Ceph. Nomad recovers quickly due to his nanosuit. And when they get to safety, Prophet explains that the mission was nothing but a cover for Jacob Hargreaves' agenda, much to everyone's shock. He also reveals that he was nearly dishonorably discharged and imprisoned for assaulting a CAI advisors and commanding officers due to his disagreement with their unethical methods during the war on drugs in South America. Psycho agrees, saying that he would have done the same thing. Prophet then reveals that Jacob Hargreaves was a reason for his release and participation in the nanosuit program. Prophet tells Helena how Hargreaves saved him from Leavenworth and how everything he said turned out to be true. And Nomad gets very uncomfortable with the fact that Prophet is a private sector mole. Hargreaves then contacts Prophet about a private vessel still docked in the opposite side of the island. The team is told that if they are picked up by the military, they will likely to be interrogated by the third party that's neither army nor cell. While making their way over the Hargreaves vessel, the survivors decide to take a shortcut through the alien ship, which no longer has an anti-gravity field. Unfortunately, they are discovered by the Ceph inside and they are forced to step through what appears to be a portal. one that Prophet would rather not have to go through. Meanwhile, Vice Admiral Sanchez meets with some people who want to extract Raptor team for classified reasons. Helena Rosendahl and the remnants of Raptor team are transported to one of the Jupiter's moons. None of them could believe what they were seeing, and the Ceph did not follow them through the portal. Though Helena speculates that the Ceph may not have built the portal, Prophet links it to programming parameters preventing himself and Psycho from capturing a terrorist years ago in Kuala Lumpur, when he escaped into an embassy. Nomad, however, is much more focused on the mission and wants to know how Prophet survived and managed to acquire an alien weapon the first time he went through the portal. Prophet explains that the nanosuit is based on technology stolen from Ceph, and that the scout was only trying to connect with Aztec and Jester when it killed them. Jester wasn't killed immediately like Aztec was, and it took even longer in Prophet's case, giving him time to stop the scout and repel it. However, he was left inside the cave and attacked by tentacles, which nearly caused the cave to collapse and bury him. After he escaped, he found a surviving North Korean army captain Pak, whose squad was massacred by Ceph inside the structure. After accusing each other of stealing nanosuit technology, Pak revealed that General Kyung's unit has been training with nanosuits for a long time, and that it's likely that each military developed their suits separately. According to Pak, Korean nanosoldiers dream of the structures inside the mountain, but Prophet denies that he does too. Pak then reveals that the nanosuits started giving soldiers bad effects ever since they come to Linksdown. After Prophet rescues Pak from an attack by the tentacles, they step into a zero-G area and are attacked by the Ceph again. Eventually, Prophet and Pak are overwhelmed by the tentacles. Pak sacrifices himself with a grenade, sending Prophet through the portal where he finds an ancient alien that died for an unknown reason without firing a shot. Inspired by the dead creature, Prophet leads the survivors back through the portal. It is revealed that the portal sent them back through time, where they can hear themselves fighting the Ceph 18 hours ago. Prophet then reveals that he even saw himself talking to Pak after he came out of the portal for the first time. It also seems to be why his nanosuit was malfunctioning, though it managed to fix itself eventually. The survivors continue on the shore, where they called for Hargreaves' boat. Prophet contacts his old self as well to ensure that events played out exactly the same way. As the boat arrives, the crew opens fire on the survivors and takes them by surprise. Helena, who isn't wearing a nanosuit, is killed immediately. The boat then disables the nanosuits with an EMP. As Prophet lies on the sand, he realizes that they've been all betrayed. The boat's crew then prepares to bring them into the ship for interrogation. The Eva crew inspect their victims and find that while Prophet and Psycho are alive and well underneath the locked-up suit, Nomad is badly injured. It is then revealed that they hijacked Hargreaves' vessel and killed the original crew, so Hargreaves never even realized the boat's been taken over. Once on board the boat, Norman West, the CIA officer that Prophet beat up in Panama years ago, reveals himself, saying he then proceeds to beat up Psycho, who is still unable to move. Prophet becomes irritated at the fact that the CIA has no clue as to what's really going on, pointing to the aliens on the island. West then has his men injured and catches Nomad with a drill, forcing Prophet to tell them the coordinates for Hargreaves' bunker in exchange for Nomad's life. As Prophet expected, however, the boat is hit by an EMP released from Morrison's nuke. Prophet and Psycho break free and start killing their captors. However, one of West's men attempts to kill them with a rocket launcher. Nomad bursts through the wall and takes the hit, sacrificing himself for his teammates, who then kills the rest of the crew. Prophet terminates West with an extreme prejudice. After mourning the loss of Nomad, the two surviving members of the Raptor team decide to take their data to Hargreaves and seek refuge there. Game starts with a news report on the new cases of alien virus confirmed in Manhattan. Crysis Corporation is suspected of having a leak in the research unit. Quickly, the infection spreads over the city. Panic breaks not only in New York, but also in the other cities. Submarine moves through the Hudson River on a mission to find and extract Dr. Nathan Gould. Inside, special unit members speculate about the threats of the mission. As they are preparing to be deployed, the sub gets hit with a missile. Ship starts sinking and Marines try to evacuate. There is a lot of mess on the surface, and turns out many ships have been destroyed. Soon, hostile airships starts attacking the survivors. Marine called Alcatraz gets hit, but a man in a nanosuit saves his life, pushing back the attack. Looks like Alcatraz is the only one who survived. Then we get an intro showing a nanosuit, virus spread, and a soldier in the suit being attacked by the military forces in a destroyed city. Alcatraz wakes up in a battery park in New York City. This place looks like it used to be a laboratory. He loads a video where a soldier that saved him informs Dr. Gould is the last chance and he is contaminated, so he can't do much more, but he tells Alcatraz he has to finish the mission. Then he gives him his suit. It turns out this guy is a good old prophet we know from the first game. And if you want to see what happened in the previous Crysis games, check out my other videos. Also, if you like my work, you can support me via patreon.com or Super Thanks here on YouTube. You will find a link to my Patreon in the description. Prophet shoots himself, so Alcatraz must locate Nathan Gould. Soon Doctor connects through the radio and informs that he is being hunted by Marines. He also sends his coordinates. Alcatraz makes his way through the camp. Soldiers try to take him down, thinking he is Prophet. Gould informs he must change his location, so Alcatraz gets out of the camp and goes through the destroyed city. It turns out that there are dozens of infected in the subways. Soon, he intercepts military transmission informing that they failed to reverse the effects of the virus. So the military decided to go through the city and kill all infected. And they also consider Prophet as an active biohazard. Gould tells Alcatraz to collect samples from an alien ship that was shut down near him, and he points out that the melted substance all over the alien ship is a human tissue. But what he needs to research is an alien tissue, so those are no good. While trying to leave the crash site, Alcatraz gets attacked by alien machine. He manages to kill it and gets an alien tissue sample. His suit starts processing the tissue and assimilates the code with the deep layer protocols. Gould says it activated some hidden deep layers in the suit, and the name Hargreave pops up under their patents. Turns out the alien tissue can actually upgrade the suit. Alcatraz goes through a freeway. On his way, he spots Lockhart arguing with Tara about whether they should capture or kill him. Tara tries to convince him that Hargreave needs Prophet alive, but Lockhart is mad about all the soldiers he lost, so he doesn't want to take any chances. Alcatraz follows the VDR until he reaches Harbor Light's pier, fighting Lockhart's men on the way. At one point, he manages to steal a cell tank. Lockhart tries to airstrike him, but Tara Strickland interferes, telling the pilots the orders from the highest level are different. Alcatraz researches the lab and turns out the cell forces are all over the place. Soon he reaches Gould. Doctor checks his suit and he realizes this is not Prophet. He panics, but the computer shows him that Prophet has given the suit to Alcatraz and shot himself. Gould explains to Alcatraz that Prophet kept saying he found an answer to the virus. He also says that the suit has like a living code in the deeper layers, and now it acts like it was rewriting itself to accommodate something new. Gould guesses that it might be biocoding for a vaccine. He says that the only place he can study is at Hargreaves' lab on Roosevelt Island. And now they need to move as Cell is already approaching them. Alcatraz tries to protect Gould, but he gets thrown out of the window. After hitting the ground, he gets a bit dizzy, but Gould connects, and now he tells Alcatraz to go to the Cell's command post on Wall Street, as they must have a nanosuit cradle with deep scan capacity. Alcatraz researches the place and breaks through the roof, and turns out Gould is already there. They terrorize the lab personnel and perform a suit scan. It turns out that Alcatraz is heavily injured, but the suit is merging with the tissue and keeps him in shape. When they try to perform a deep scan, Lockhart shows up and takes down Gould. He wants to kill Alcatraz, still thinking that is Prophet in the suit, but Tara interrupts and he is only able to power down the suit. They put Alcatraz on a helicopter and Lockhart orders them to deliver him to Hargreaves. But when they try to take off, an alien machine pops out of the ground and Alcatraz falls down off the chopper. It makes a whole place dark and releases some kind of a gas that kills cell soldiers all over the place. While his suit is rebooting, Alcatraz sees that an alien ship drops soldiers everywhere. He tries to fight his way to escape from there, but he is too weak and loses his consciousness. Then we see his nanosuit trying to study an alien tissue and a flashback of Prophet being briefed by Hargreave about the mission on Lingshan Islands from Crysis 1. Alcatraz recovers and Hargreaves himself connects through the suit. He guides Alcatraz to the so-called heart of the city. There he finds a hive core entrance and Hargreaves tells him to infiltrate that. But in an attempt to wipe out the Ceph, the DoD plans to bomb out the Wilson fluid barrier and drone the lower city. That means Alcatraz doesn't have much time. He is ordered to find Reeves and his men in the subway system, but turns out they are all dead. He sabotages the spore conduct to get inside the central structure. Inside, the nanosuit starts to gather data, but the spore resists and throws Alcatraz outside. Since the US bombers are already starting to drop bombs, Hargreaves sends a helicopter to pick up Alcatraz, but he is not quick enough and he gets flooded. When Alcatraz wakes up, he hears a voice of a special unit searching for him. Soon, aliens approach, but Chino and his men are able to defeat them. Chino gives Alcatraz a gun and turns out they know each other. Alcatraz and the rest go to the extraction point. Hargreaves informs that the suit is building a biocode bridge between human and Ceph technology. He orders Alcatraz to go to his laboratory. They get there through the parking level and must reach the 11th floor to pick up a bioprotocol samples. Though Hargreaves tries to order the soldiers protecting the building to cease fire on Alcatraz, they refuse to obey and want to kill him, still thinking that it's Prophet inside the suit. Alcatraz manages to get the samples, but Lockhart is out of control at this point. He sends all he has to kill Alcatraz and starts his own little revolution. Hargreaves tells Alcatraz he will deal with Lockhart and sends him to the central station to help with the evacuation. He helps to evacuate civilians from Bryant Park and assists Marine fallback to the train station. Then he joins Echo Company for the perimeter defense. Sergeant Reiner tells Alcatraz they want to bring down the building on the other side of the streets to block the mortar fire. Since the safety breakers are tripped, Alcatraz must get there and bring them back. When the soldier with the detonator gets killed, Alcatraz finds it and tries to do the job, but he gets tackled by an alien and falls down from the window. With a little luck, he still manages to blow up the building and get out from there in one piece. Then he is sent to defend the upper levels of the station until the evacuation is complete. He meets Colonel Barclay and Dr. Gould. Gould tries to convince the colonel to ride the Roosevelt Island, but he doesn't want to listen as evacuation is his main priority. Colonel suspects that Tara Strickland probably let Dr. Gould escape and wonders why she did that. Then he says she was a decorated Marine, but after Strickland died on Lingshan Islands, she cracked and started drinking and got kicked out of the military. Station gets under attack. Alcatraz and the others fight to buy the civilians time to evacuate. At one point, the skyscraper starts to collapse, so they need to evac to the other point, but unfortunately not all the civilians made it out before they were buried underground. Soldiers are transported to the Times Square where military sets the secondary evac point and helps with the airlift evacuation. Then he tries to evacuate with Colonel Barclay, but all of a sudden, an alien sphere pops out from the underground. Hargreaves calls and tells Barclay this is a deadly weapon and convinces him to let Alcatraz deal with it. Alcatraz is told by Hargreaves to climb up on it and sabotage the damn thing with his suit, but it weakens him and he falls down on the ground, soon being approached by Cyclops. But it turns out the plan actually worked and the sphere goes crazy, killing all aliens and falling down. Alcatraz is barely alive, but he manages to defibrillate himself and reboot the suit. He gets picked up by a VTOL and flies away. Turns out the trains from the first evacuation point were derailed and Gould got stuck with the rest of the civilians. Again, he tries to convince Barclay to send Alcatraz to prison facility on Roosevelt Island and save Hargreaves, and actually this time Colonel agrees. As he gets near the island, he gets an info from Hargreave that Lockhart's men are all over there, and he tries to guide him through to the power station where Alcatraz triggers the emergency shutdown. That way, he compromises Lockhart's EMP, which is the only weapon that actually can stop Nanosuit. Then Alcatraz goes for Lockhart himself and chokes him to death. But when he tries to reach Hargreave, he gets assaulted by EMP. Turns out it was Sarah Strickland who was there instead of Hargreave. They take Alcatraz to Prism for research. They try to take off his nanosuit. The operation is painful and Alcatraz has some flashbacks while Hargreave says he had no choice as the suit might be the only way to stop the Ceph's invasion. In the flashbacks, he sees Prophet informed by Hargreave that the suit learned the Ceph nanosystems and he wants to send him back. Angry Prophet figures out that Hargreave sent him and the rest to the Linkso Islands only to gather the alien tissue, but Hargreave explains that it was a necessary sacrifice to save humanity. Turns out the suit is rejecting the rip and it starts overloading. Hargreave orders to headshot Alcatraz, but Tara Strickland saves him and kills the guards. Then she introduces herself as a CIA agent and she frees Alcatraz. Tara explains that though Hargreave is insane, he is still valuable, as he stole the Ceph technology 100 years ago, and he has been working on it ever since. He clearly has some plan for confronting the invasion, and the CIA wants to know what it is. Tara tells Alcatraz only he can capture Hargreave with the help of his nanosuit, since he is under a very tight security, even CIA can't get to him. Alcatraz actually makes it into his office, but he only appears on a TV screen. Soon, he reveals himself lying in some medical capsule. Turns out, he believed that wearing a Prophet's nanosuit will bring his body back to life. But since he accepts his defeat, he gives Alcatraz the syringe to upgrade the nanosuit. Alcatraz takes it, and it causes a major dysfunction of the suit. He sees a flashback with the plans of invasion, revealing that Cephs were in New York all that time before it even started. Turns out that Hargreave purposely built his facility here in New York. Aliens start to attack the building and Alcatraz fights his way, while Hargreave informs his men they must stop hunting him and help him to evacuate, as he is the only hope for humanity. Alcatraz goes across the bridge, and as it starts collapsing, he falls down into the river. While in the water, the nanosuit completes the nano-catalyst viability assessment. When Alcatraz wakes up, he hears Gold talking to Strickland about how he and the suit are the key to all of this. Doctor looks into Prophet's memory and says that Cephs are based right under the reservoir in Central Park. That's where the main spore regulator is. Gold believes that if they get the suit inside, they have a shot on rolling back the whole invasion. Meanwhile, Barclay informs that Pentagon wants to drop a nuclear missile on the whole city. Strickland asks him for an air assist. Barclay agrees, but since the Cephs are blocking the signal transmission, Alcatraz goes to the rooftop and marks the targets for airstrike. He tries to get back to the park as quickly as possible, but the entire land rises from the ground. Alcatraz gets on a chopper and flies over the sphere. He has 20 minutes before the government will launch the nuke. Helicopter can't get directly over the sphere, so Alcatraz must reach it on foot. He gets inside and throws himself down into the structure. He sees Prophet, who tells him he had to break the link between him and the suit as Cephs got into him and gained control. Then he shows him the map of Ceph activity all over the Earth, proving they've been here forever. And then the suit makes the sphere explode, causing a wave that kills aliens all over the city. A few days later, we see the survivors being evacuated, but Alcatraz hears the words of the Prophet who says, "This thing isn't even close to being over." Then Alcatraz wakes up on the ground and he is connected by a guy introducing himself as Carl Ernst Rush. Game starts with Prophet explaining that 23 years ago aliens Ceph invaded, and though they were stopped, Cell Corporation sees the opportunity, stepping into the power vacuum and growing into the world domination energy supply company. Then he reveals that the most powerful alien, the Alpha Ceph, still lives, and the world is still in danger. He says he saw a glimpse of the future, and let's just say it's not a pretty picture. Then he explains in Crysis 2 he sacrificed Lauren Barnes to become Prophet, suggesting that he is like a self-aware nanosuit right now. We see Hunter Free Team flying into the Cell 5 facility and reporting they picked up a rebel movement. Soon, a cell guard gets knocked down and Rebel starts to assault the ship. They take down the guards and open a container carrying a nanosuit. It attacks them, but Psycho calms it down. Turns out it's Prophet himself. And if you want to know how they know each other, just watch my other videos where I recap the previous games. Psycho tells Prophet he is the last one with the nanosuit as Cell skinned all the others. Then he gives Prophet a gun and they try to get him out from the cell facilities. Turns out Prophet has been asleep for over 20 years. On the way, Psycho tells Prophet that the war has started. While trying to get out, Psycho sees a recording of him being carried out from the suit and explains that it is a painful process and causes death to the man inside in most cases. He also tells that most of the rebels rising against Cell are their adept slaves. Cell took control of the energy supplies over the world and made people obey and work off their energy debts, basically making them slaves. When he got out, Psycho shows Prophet a devastated New York City. Cell is channeling energy from alien technology, running their whole global power grid off a single Ceph machine inside a dome. So the rebels' plan is to take down the dome and cut off Cell's energy source. Prophet says that Alpha Ceph showed him a vision and there has to be another way, but Psycho says the aliens are gone and Cell is the real enemy now. Prophet is sure there's greater threat beyond all of this, but he agrees that Cell needs to be stopped as soon as possible. Under command of Clary, Prophet and Psycho are sent to the Cell Tower. While they walk to the ruined city, Psycho explains that Cell gained the market by offering free energy at the beginning and soon created a monopoly. As soon as that happened, they started to raise the bills and put people into debt, so they had to pay off by working for free in their volunteer camps. Tower is protected by AI systems missiling every detected form of life in the kill zone, so Psycho stays behind and supports Prophet in going for the tower. He accidentally finds a Ceph weapon, and it turns out it works with a nanosuit, so he uses that to take down the gun towers. Then they use the underground tunnel to get to the train yard. Prophet spots some Cell soldiers being slaughtered by Cephs. Psycho explains that there are some leftovers from the war that have no hive intelligence. Psycho reports he is stuck and surrounded by Cell forces and Ceph stalkers, so Prophet retreats to help him. Soon, Cell is sending on napalm choppers on them. Having no other option, the duo jumps on a train filled with explosive materials and ride it through the kill zone. It goes well until they crash on a tank in a tunnel. Luckily, both of them survive the explosion. Larry contacts and tells them about the Cell Energy Nexus, a remnant of Ceph technology several hundred meters below the street level. She also tells Psycho to bring Prophet to their temporary headquarters. Prophet meets Clary and she is more angry than happy to see him. She sees Prophet as a mutant, and a guy named Rush joins the conversation and, with a Nazi tone of voice, explains to her that they need a game changer and Prophet might be one. Turns out he actually designed that nanosuit and it can't get a rid on him. And for the record, Psycho and Clary are holding hands and shit, but it's a big secret and only Prophet knows. Prophet thinks it's suspicious. Cell uses a good old-fashioned dam while having access to the unlimited source of energy, and that sticks quite well to his conspiracy theory that there is something more behind all of this. Prophet places explosive on the weak points and destroys it. That puts down the Cell's defensive systems. Now he proceeds for the Nexus, but before he reaches it, Clary informs that Cell continues to operate the Nexus without power for the stabilization matrix. The whole thing could implode at any moment. Prophet needs to bring the power output under control so System X can be safely shut down. When he enters the facility and he rides underground, he is hit by visions. But he closes off the power alternators, allowing rebels to safely shut down the Nexus. Clary explains that the visions are caused by the energy fields and it's nothing special to be worried about. Prophet hacks the cell system and shuts it down, but there's a system failure during the process and bang! Alpha Ceph wakes up. Facility systems trigger a self-destruction sequence and Prophet jumps out right before the explosion. The whole thing collapses, and when the rebels think they won, Prophet explains that the energy source was the Alpha Ceph, and it sends an energy signal into the skies, probably calling other Cephs, but Prophet tells Psycho he is going after the Alpha. He assumes that if Alpha can get into his head, then he can do the same. Prophet sneaks through Chinatown, and there is a Ceph mind carrier, so he uses it and hears Rash's voice, which is a bit weird. Soon Cephs destroy another cell tower and Clary informs that Rash has been missing for some time now. Prophet meets a new form of Ceph, a Scroacher, and kills the damn thing. But Clary reports that Cephs are now everywhere and they are exterminating everything that is human. So, Prophet goes to the pit defenses and meets Psycho in the elevator. Inside they find a nanosuit cradle. Prophet gets on it and Psycho unlocks the suit. And we see a vision with Rash explaining that they decided to change Prophet's nature to defeat Cephs. And to do so, he had to become one of them. But since they put a blocker on his dopamine receptors, his mind was protected from the Hive influence. But since Psycho removed those, it's hard to predict what will happen. By the way, Psycho found some video files, and he was obsessed to find out who actually was responsible for the pain he went through when he was taken off the suit, and it turns out it was Clary. She tries to explain that was a life-changing experience for her and he became a reason why she turned against Cell, and she was forced to do it because she had a debt, but Psycho is pissed and breaks up with her. Prophet also tries to explain her, but he gets Psycho turned against him, telling him he is more machine than a human anyway. Then he starts digging deep, blaming Prophet for the death of the squad that was sent to the island in the first game. But no time for crying a river, since Cell's key regulator platform of the wireless energy grid, aka Archangel, was programmed to begin aggressive protocol, Red Star Rising, caused by the latest events. Long story short, they are going to annihilate New York. Prophet's plan is to connect to a Ceph mind carrier and try to reverse the Ceph awakening. If that works, Cell should call off the Archangel. And the only problem is that his mind is no longer protected by the suit, so who knows what will happen. But since there are no other options, Prophet goes to the mind carrier and connects. After a short vision, he is surrounded by the Cephs, and they obey him, taking him as Alpha Ceph. He takes control of the Hive, but just for a few seconds, as the real Alpha Ceph strikes back and regains the power. Clary says they got like 1 hour before the Archangel strikes. Prophet is sure that if he gets one more shot on connecting to the Hive mind, he will take control of it for good. Clary has a clue where an Archangel control center might be located. Prophet finds a vehicle and tries to reach Clary, since she reports that they are being under attack and she is barely alive. But turns out Psycho comes to the rescue right on time and evacuates Clary and the rest. Prophet infiltrates Cell Archangel command center. Then he gets to the control room and helps Clary to stop Archangel getting charged by Ceph energy. Initiates stage 3 of the simulation, and Rush tells through the radio that he used them to shut down Archangel and now he can complete his plan. Well, turns out that there is a wormhole to the M33 galaxy on the Einstein-Rosen bridge. Prophet realizes that Rash has been extending his life with Ceph DNA, and he got under the hive mind influence so bad that now he is working on bringing a full-scale Ceph invasion right here on Earth. Alpha Ceph shows up and attacks the control room. Psycho manages to distract it by shooting Rash, and he escapes, taking Clary with him, while Prophet stays to knock down Rash, and that also affects Alpha. buying Prophet enough time to also evacuate to a VTOL. He tries to fight Alpha, but enemy gunships show up and they need to retreat. Then we get an explanation that Stage 3 is the final and most deadly element of the Ceph colonization strategy, and they will bring everything they got if that intergalactic passage is not shut down. Prophet and Psycho lose communication with Clary and they eventually crash. When Prophet gets back on his feet, this is Clary dying in Psycho's hands. Psycho kinda loses motivation, but Prophet throws him around a little bit and gives him an inspiring speech about humanity, and that raises the spirit back. The duo must act fast since the aliens are coming. Prophet and Psycho take down the artillery and air defenses. Then they regroup and Prophet gets on the VTOL. He fights with Ceph ships, shooting down many of them until they receive critical damage and must have an emergency landing. Psycho tries to fix the ship while Prophet fights with Ceph, covering his friends. Soon Mastermind shows up and they have a serious duel, but Prophet manages to destroy it. Then Prophet goes to the Columbus Circle, where the magic happens. The energy stream causes an earthquake and Prophet gets hit in the head. When he wakes up, he is under the surface, stuck under rocks. He frees himself and goes for the Alpha Ceph, who tries to get into his head on the way. He manages to resist and finds Ceph facility. He reaches the Ceph main carrier and closes the Ceph wormhole by sabotaging the cooling structures. Then he gets to the Alpha Ceph. They duel, having a long, exhausting battle, but Prophet wins by putting an arrow right where it counts, and killing Alpha kills all the other Cephs around. Prophet finds Psycho stuck in the VTOL, and he yells that it's too late and Cephs are already through. Prophet tries to help his friend, but he can't reach him and eventually Psycho falls down. Since Prophet do not have enough time to destroy the Ceph wormhole structure, it actually pulls him into the space. Now in orbit around Earth, Prophet sees a massive Ceph warship coming through the wormhole. Recalling Archangel's power, Prophet wakes up and hacks into the satellite, and he uses it to destroy the warship, collapsing the wormhole and preventing Ceph warriors from invading Earth. Prophet is pushed back to Earth. He crash lands in the water near the Livingston Islands, where the events of Crysis took place 27 years earlier. And when Prophet wakes up in the morning, he is on an abandoned hut. A television is playing in the background, informing that Cell's assets were frozen by Senator Strickland, as the corporation is under investigation. As the natural blocks are removed from the nanosuit, the suit's outer layer is changed to reform Prophet's former physical body, resurrecting him in a weird way. He walks out into the beach and throws his tags into the water. He then decides to use his actual name, Lawrence Barnes, from this day. The game ends with Prophet walking back to the shed and activating his stealth ability. In a post-credit scene, two Cell soldiers are shot by Psycho after they escort 3 board members into a bunker. Psycho announces he would like to make a compliment on the board members regarding his treatment at one of their hospitals. And that's how the game ends.